Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Okay, so now this the opening first.
So we'll begin with the opening prayers.
So today we're going to Dharma, sort of whole thing, but no Tibetan. So just we go straight in the English.
In the English, okay.
Only once.
So beginning on page 1. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. Then on page 2, thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Page 3, all sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious kind Lama Vajradhara, the embodiment of the body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities of the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teaching, and Lord of the Sanghas. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Then on page 4, until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Page 5. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. And on page 6, refuge of all sentient beings without exception, divine subjugator of terrifying Maras, together with their hosts of demons, the one who understands all realities without exception exactly as they are. Transcend and conquer, together with your disciples, please come here to this place. Page 7. The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the 4 continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field, I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. Page 8, or page 11. Namo, to the Lama of utterly pure appearance and existence, I offer the fundamental ground of appearance and existence. I supplicate you to thoroughly liberate the 3 realms. Please grant your blessings and overturn the depths of samsara. Sublime Master, wish-fulfilling jewel, crown ornament, the inconceivable, inexpressible mind of the victorious ones, the one endowed with the 5 wisdoms of omniscience, gracious one, the embodiment of love. Precious protector of beings, I supplicate you from within the essence of mind. Please grant your blessings from within the innate nature. Please bless me that I may realize the Dharmakaya, which is beyond intellect, this primordially unborn, completely pure mind. Transcendent conqueror, the one thus gone, foe destroyer of afflictive emotions, completely perfected Buddha, endowed with logic and virtue, the one gone to bliss, knower of the world, captain, tamer of beings, the unexcelled teacher of gods and men, I respectfully prostrate, completely touching my head to the stainless feet of the unequaled Shakya King. At the time of your birth, leader of two-legged beings, taking 7 steps on this great earth, you proclaimed, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, even then, I prostrate. Possessing a body of complete purity, your sublime form is excellent. An ocean of primordial wisdom, you are like a golden mountain. The one whose renown is evident throughout the 3 worlds, protector of supreme attainment, to you I prostrate. To you who are endowed with the supreme marks, whose face is like an immaculate moon. To you, the one with a complexion like gold, I prostrate. A flawless one such as you among the 3 levels of existence is most exquisite. Unparalleled, omniscient one, to you I prostrate. Supreme among humans, captain of those to be tamed, the one thus gone who severs the all-binding fetters, who with senses pacified, is utterly pacified and skilled in peace. To that one, the one who dwelled at Shravasti, I prostrate. Refuge endowed with great compassion, totally omniscient one who indicates the way, ground basis for oceans of merit and qualities, I prostrate to the one thus gone. The pure cause free from attachments, the virtue that liberates from the lower realms, the altogether supreme ultimate truth, to the pacifying Dharma I prostrate. Having been liberated, they also reveal the path to liberation. Thoroughly respectful of the 3 higher trainings, they are a field of sublime qualities. To the Sangha, I also prostrate. Then on page 15, I prostrate to the youthful Manjushri, to those in the worlds of the 10 directions, however many there are, all the lions among humans who appear during the 3 times. To all of them without exception, I pay homage with respectful body, speech, and mind. The force of my aspiration prayer for excellent conduct brings all the victorious ones directly to mind. Bowing down with bodies as numerous as atoms in the realms, I prostrate to all the victorious ones. In a single atom, there are Buddhas as numerous as atoms, each residing in the midst of their sons and daughters. Like that, I imagine the whole Dharma Dhatu completely filled with victorious ones. To those with oceans of inexhaustible praiseworthy qualities, with sounds containing oceans of tones of melodic speech, I express the qualities of all the victorious ones. I praise all the Sugatas. With the finest flowers, the finest garlands, music, ointments, supreme parasols, supreme lamps, and the finest incense, I make offerings to the victorious ones. With the finest cloths, supreme scents, and fine powders, equal to Mount Meru, all displayed in supreme and magnificent ways, I make offerings to those victorious ones. With vast and unsurpassable offerings, I venerate all the victorious ones. Through the power of faith and excellent conduct, I prostrate and offer to the victorious ones. Whatever negative actions I have performed with body, speech, and also mind, overpowered by desire, aggression, and stupidity, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in everyone's merit, the victorious ones of the 10 directions, the Bodhisattvas, the Pratyeka Buddhas, those in training, those beyond training, and all beings. I request the protectors, the lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who, passing through the stages of awakening, attained Buddhahood beyond attachment, to turn the unsurpassable Dharma wheel. I supplicate with my palms joined together, those who intend to demonstrate nirvana, to remain for kalpas as numerous as atoms in the realms, for the welfare and happiness of all beings. I dedicate whatever slight virtue is accumulated through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and supplicating to enlightenment. Page 16. Maybe we'll do this one once in English and once in Tibetan. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the two vehicles and their combination according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Good morning. So how is the sound? Is okay? Oh, okay.
We hear you fine.
I don't know if they can hear us.
What?
I said, we hear you fine.
You're probably
Good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yes, very good.
Da tindu train da nga zo da sakan dawa ji tuen dawa de da ka chone gu zo bro tindu da ke kan pobe ke dawa hiwa zu do wa tindu da dawa hiwe na la sanji ki tu chen sumzom se ale da ke kan ti chen tang ti meni ki lo di smara wa ji yo sare tindu 네, 직면에 기초적 성공도 같은 단다. 순배는 어려워티 되게 다가 특히 라틴에 폰다히와 아래 폰다히베 게다 사간다와 지금 네, 가장 팀이지 당 고속요로와 트링다 세판니도 차비요리 사긴데 팀이다 뒤나네 지 제당 투첸스야 tellat네 개백 주 간대지 집이나 되네 개백 주대요 팬로야 개백 주든 거 전부 용요 어떻게 이제 연구요래 됩니다 단다 성지 기투체 제발gen 긴다외 토라 나라 되네 이제 아주 개백 주 간대지는 거 전부 요래 되네 인도 아무도 단다디 나완디 나라 다 가신 론론도 오지 되네 단다 열세 라레 소두마스 어떻게 Mahaji Takaseguraji Tiak Charinovich.
So since now we have entered into the holy month of Sagadawa, we've just started. So Sagadawa actually started yesterday. So Sagadawa is celebrated for the whole month, the fourth lunar month, or the fourth month of the Tibetan calendar. It's a little bit, it differs some from the Theravada traditions in that they generally celebrated in during the third lunar month. And so this is what is referred to as Vesak. And so in this period of Sagadawa, this marks the three sort of most, the three great moments in the life of the Buddha, and his birth, his enlightenment, and passing into parinirvana. And so we actually, the fourth lunar month, the fourth Tibetan month, began yesterday. So today is the second day. And so this then marks the beginning of Sagadawa in the Mahayana traditions. And during this period, however, whatever virtue that one engages in is said to be increased in its power and energy exponentially. So there's really tremendous increase in our in the power of our virtuous endeavors during this time, during this holy month of Sagadawa. All of our positive activities become much more powerful in their karmic strength. And so it's a really important time to focus on the accumulation of virtue. So in line with that, Drupal Rinpoche decided that it would be a good time to begin the teachings on the 37 Bodhisattva practices. So that's why we're beginning today at the start of Sagadawa.
Tela Sanganye, Sayaji Yunguya Mari, Tinechu, Candina, the Yena Yango Happer to get the neta, Jersey Lawen, Sia, the money, Tony Jersey Chanchos, and Mick Lawe, and Min Metamewatan, Tiana Yiki, the Lalendi, Tangatsuyan, Chisum Grow, Taji Chu, or Ziduko, Chutan, Jikan, said Yunguya, Kochu Zidujan, Kaha in Besono, which Yunguya, Yena. Advice, carry yourself. You can deny that on kind of speak with. To make it chimney, two countries, Yamachi, or Teddy, Tonda, Ni, Sunday, what Teddy, Yungu, or Teddy, Tambong, not of course, you can deny it. Tambichu Dobra Chivala, Tambo Foundation, the water, Cargo, or Suina, you can deny it. Massambo, Mayara. Oh, Chambatan Inge, and Tindin then there was Yubina, then Kunjikan Chiala, Marimaka, sorry, this Tambik Chu Chiala, Benella Wingua, Tiene something as a Jinjikendi Canala, Casa the functioning Yabume Wajela, a jump to watch in Tambichu drops here, Colela Wingua, Tinutinichi, and the Casagota. Basically, Chutan Jitan Ninja, money, Lihi, so, Tiniji Chaton Sound is the heat.
So, Gary Dumple Sangi Corlachi, Lavinde, Sangi Corlachi, Lavinde, the Naki Wagari Druna, Sangi Tina. So in any case, of course, whatever virtuous or dharma activities that we choose to engage in at this time are rendered very powerful and very, they're whatever virtue we do is really extremely positive and important. And but among all of the different practices and methods, Drupal's thinking is that the 37 Bodhisattva practices are really so complete. Everything is there. So it's such really such an important text that really helps both practitioners who are exclusively engaged in Dharma practice, and also those householders who are practicing together with their worldly activities. We tend to think of these two as being separate, so there's those, there's the kind of like Dharma activities and Dharma practice, and then our worldly activities. But this advice that we find in the 37 Bodhisattva practices really perfectly applies to both circumstances. And so it is advice that is really useful and beneficial to kind of someone who is engaging in Dharma practice together with being engaged with the world or being a householder, and also for those who are really exclusively engaged in Dharma practice. So the most important foundation, really, as we engage with the world as householders, in order to prepare ourselves to really practice the Dharma, it's most important that we develop a purity of heart and mind, that we develop good intentions towards others, a wholesome frame of mind or way of being with pure intentions. And then if we really purify our mind in this way, then it will become easy to practice Dharma. If we don't purify our mind in this way, if we can't really function sort of as a well-intentioned kind of wholesome being with integrity in the world, then if we try to jump to Dharma, like sort of really maybe serious Dharma practice, it won't work. And so these instructions of the 37 Bodhisattva practices are really complete. Everything that is needed is there, both with respect to engaging in the world and engaging in Dharma practice. It's really excellently explained.
제가 자세 랑래 세야 되다 제법 보태 가르치는다 데려와 자세 세야 돼 결위기세 다코는 장조 선바 톡세들라 되는 가서 자세라고 결위기세 세야지 오다 되는데 코란이다 가서 오늘 레핑도 인사리 이내 양 코란 캠맹들라 되는 토미도와 토미 상보 베이스 tindi lapkiosari sinzebabu.
So the author of these 37 practices, often when he is referred to as Gyaltse Togme Zangpo, or also Nguchu Togme Zangpo. But Gyaltse actually, it literally means the son of, or the child of victorious ones, or the child of a king, actually. And the king is referring to victorious ones, which mean the Buddhas. So the children of the Buddhas, which is the term Gyaltse, is referring to Bodhisattvas. So actually the title that is given to Ngochu Togme Zangpo, who composed this text, is Bodhisattva, or child of the victorious ones, Togme Zangpo.
데려와 빼는 것도 상지기다 세모 모요레스. 상지기 세들라 기타 코로나 세다 진지세야 여러와 답슬라 그말라 라고. 베탕다 상지 세요레스나 코로나 세세야 톡세세야 여러와 톡세세야 스리라비나. 근데 장조스 말도 여러와 어떻게니다지 코로나 세라고야 그좀세 데레스.
So actually, there are countless children of the victorious ones, or the Buddha has, all are children of the Buddhas. But like a heart child, a heart son or daughter, is what we refer to as tukse in Tibetan. And so who are the heart children of the Buddhas? They are the Bodhisattvas. So this is really what is meant by the term Gyatse, which is child of the victorious ones, is that they are a heart child of the Buddhas.
다대 공래다 가서 직통 직통 니자 급축 강화라 통역사레스 니자 급축 강화
The Sijala, Western calendar year.
제가 나오지 된다 야 텔라티네 본초 베스 라부요사리 테네 아메리칸가 테네 몸동스 라부요사리
Gomdong.
몸 테네 코나키메가 테네 본초 상보스 라부도
So Mucho Togme Zampo was born somewhere around 1295, in the year 1295, during the 11th century, and he was born to his father's name was Koncho Pe, and his mother's name was Ama Bumdrung. And he himself, when he was his birth name then that was given to him when he was born was Koncho Zangpo.
That I don't know related, but Pecheman Konaso Yenten Masochi Koran Kaming Tang, Tibu, Kame Chatan, Bonjon Roji, Tido Tidu, Chitango Magic, Paju, Senate Pame Kijubatela, Dungaji Roji, Chadi is.
So given the fact that they all have the name Konchog, so the father has the name Konchog and the mother has the name Konchog.
Not mother, son.
Oh, sorry, that the father has the Konchog and that the son has the name Konchog, then this probably indicates that the paternal lineage was one that where they were practitioners of the Drikung Kagyu lineage.
그건 나중에 bells 야단 이제 bell 교관이 된 맹도지 차디어레스 그런 맹도다 먼저 bell도.
And as the father's name was Koncho Pe, which actually, if we say that it's more like spelled P-A-L, right, like Pal. Then that also indicates, a connection with the Drikung lineage, like Rinchen Pal.
데리다 기타가서 데 공충사데 다 ngazo 동초를 북도 사자 공부하시오로다 사자 공부에게 예사다 사자 착차스 이제라 부여서 사자 등리제가 총베스라부도 다 되는 사자 공부에 기타 사자 공부하다 ngazo 다니오래 기타나다 조직들이랑 소시야카보로 와 있는 조직들이다 ngazo 벤첸라마세야 지고 여러 티키네 티키다 공부할 장라 그래 장 기내야로는 다른 거 싫어요 말이 되면 사자 그 공부할 아마도 그거 매 마너스트리로 와서 지듯이 장 시카제라 그래 장 기내야 스노비나 기내 다른 거 싫어요 말이 사자 공부 사자 마고 사자 benar macam dukungan ini dibuat dengan manusia luar kini yang orang itu saja kolam hilang saja lagi membayang saja lagi. Oda tanya saat ini jelas ini teruslah thongnya saja dan cakap orang itu cakap saja. Kita ada saja thongnya.
So the place where Mucho Togme Zangpo was born, it was in a region or place which was near a Sakya monastery, and actually the name of the place was also, it sounds like the surrounding place was actually Sakya, and in the particular place was called Drokcha Trong or Drokcha. Yeah, that was the place. Was just Drokcha, right? Or Trong Drokcha?
Right, that yes, I know.
Right, but so is it Drokcha or Trong Drokcha?
Drokcha.
Okay. And actually, it was also fairly near to the place or the monastery connected with the Pinchen Lama Sang, Shikatse. And so a little bit further, or some ways, you know, it was in some proximity, but if you like go up a ways, then, you know, not so far away, then there was this Sakya monastery, and the name of that kind of general region was also the Ming Sakya. Ming Sakya. Oh, the main. Sorry. Some indicate it was the main Sakya monastery, and so then very close to that then is this place where he was born called Drapcha.
Koran pechepa mani peche chungya sari tindi inditine da ngaso ji grandmother la wa ne grandmother ke jik so chung ro tindi na yo sari na ne tine koran ke ta da peche lo nga ro sari mari lo nga ne tine koran grandma so chung chi ne peche da lo churna pa de tine so chung chi yo sari.
So when he was very young, his father and mother passed away, and so he was raised primarily by his grandmother. So probably from about the age of 5 until the age of 15, he was mostly looked after and raised, cared for by his grandmother. So then when he was about 15, then he attained or received ordination and entered the A monastery. And so during that time, he mostly studied under the teacher Rompa Nima Gyatsen, and so this became his main tutor, or the main lama with which he studied, or with whom he studied.
bombazo charo tong trika latini gegenzo twando kuyu sarwa twando kuyu tini korape twata tak lempo repeti yato buyo sarwa tini koran tini tomi se tomi no tomi sa topa me barwa tini ji is.
And so he was actually extremely bright as a young monk. He was really very quick and bright, and so he would often prepare the tea and offer it to the teachers.
During the tea time.
Oh, during tea time. He would sort of be quizzed by his.
The question is probably maybe not only for him, just general monks.
Okay. So the teachers would often sort of quiz the students, or they would pose questions to the younger monks, and then whenever this would happen, then Ngolchu Togme Sangpo was really quick and sort of perfect in his responses and his answers, and so he became became known for his sharp intellect, and so he was given the name Togme. So Togme means sort of like like unimpeded, sort of. Yeah, like unimpeded. So he like very, very quickly, without any hindrance or any impediment, was able to respond or answer. He was very quick on his feet.
So tinil toni tobares la imbe. Da ti Koran pecha guno suni do chin Koran pecha yako cha gegen do cha chi Koran da pecha mena e gomba in sarwa Koran ke pechi peti yores peti zine chikta Koran ke pecha mo zam yosare tanda Ando de Jen do Wodan, Tine, Junju do Wodan, that in the Usaris.
And so at the age of 32, he himself began teaching. He became one of the main teachers at the monastery. And he also during that time composed many written works, also a lot of his commentaries on the ornament of the Mahayana Sutras and on the Bodhicharya Avatara, among others.
Koran kambe nalama Koran ti tene ya ji Koran takchu lo ji ya kambe toka ji lo we kabla tene ji short tsama long ki ji be chokka hene tene ko long ki ne Koran ke ne short zo ji je tene semio mares temaji de Koran ji ta de demda ya bore dan de je ji ne ya jersi Lagland ki simcha Mongola ki cho Kazakhstan pentopsare zambe tenden onde ki ta ina Korangi yangcho haku ro songcho growa ne Koran yangcho chiyosare.
And so while he was composing the 37 Bodhisattva practices, one day while he went on top of the roof, or he was on the roof of the monastery. Oh, so first he had fully completed the work in his own room, and then he went up to the top of the roof with his manuscripts in hand, and a big. So he was, he was going to sit on the roof while editing or kind of proofreading, going over what he had written, but then a big wind came and carried all of the papers off and spread them across the landscape in all directions, and so he thought actually that this was a very good sign. He thought that because of this, this signified that the 37 Bodhisattva practices would end up being of tremendous benefit to many beings, that they would spread throughout far and wide, and that they would help many individuals, that they would really bring about benefit for others. And so thinking that, then he returned to his room and he wrote them down again. And of course, it was indeed how he had sort of how, as it had been foretold by this incident, that in fact these practices really became very well known far and wide and have been of tremendous benefit to practitioners throughout the generations.
어딘 다 메인 세나린 제바보 메인 다 자세세야 돼 당기 휴가나 일에 되는 다 도미 세 휴로가 되네 다 상보세야 돼 거다 거랑 그 메인 당보네 지 당기 공적 상보세야 돼요와 대지되는 다 맞죠 참여야 자세 무치 도메 라고래 되네 다 간다 제바보 테레스 근데 뒤나 당도 자세 라렌스 라고도
And so in any case, this is just to speak a little bit about the author and in particular his name and the title Gyaltse, which means Bodhisattva or child, heart child of the victorious ones. And so this is, the author who composed these 37 practices, who is known as Gyaltse Muchu Togme or Muchu Togme Zangpo, whose name is also actually Konchok Zangpo. So this is just kind of like an introduction to him.
근데 가서 다 37 세야지. 이거로
37.
이게 다 37대 다 거랑게 단다 책 다 장매지는 몽골로 차례 하고로 되니다 된다디 거랑게 조자디 효로가 되는 숨수도 그나마 마차창 창대 같은 이제 라틴 숨수도 뉴스라고
And so there are then for the title, so there's the 37 Bodhisattva practices. So there are 37 verses. So many of you are probably already very familiar with the 37 practices. And so you know how it is laid out, that it's laid out as 37 distinct verses. And in each of these verses, the meaning of each of the 37 instructions is complete.
다 들라 가서 예야 들라 다 계단 다 37 들라 계단 가서 다 추참마라 되네 지 토마라 개개와 당테네 지 화트 흉 조고와 세야지 다 된주 수동수이나 되게고 딱 맞지 가세보다 rules system 되게 is
and so to begin with the explanation, as is the case with any Dharma exposition or written work, they are divided into three categories. So in the beginning, it is virtuous in the beginning, and then with the introduction, and then in the middle with the body, the main body of the text, and it is virtuous in the end with the dedication, or in the conclusion with the concluding words or dedication.
직전 같은 데 여다 particular 가서 노조반도 있나 지 캄바지 자고나 탐보 디자인 캄바튼 조티다 대야고 직소고와 돼서 네지 고 티슈라 고 construction 된 담아들라다 고지 캄바 차창 통로라고 다 된나 얘기 제거네 담배 기초 오직 되네 잠고요나 보다 탐보 팀이지 고고여서레스
So this isn't, of course, this isn't only the case with Dharma. Really, everything kind of has naturally these three phases, or can be sort of divided into these three sort of temporal classifications. So, for instance, if you want to build a building or a structure, a house, first you have the initial planning that occurs with the design and so forth, and so that's like the introduction, and then you have the actual work that is done to build the structure, all of the construction and so forth, and then finally you have the completed product, or the fully constructed building or house. And so really not just Dharma, but everything kind of is presented in these three stages.
다 통말 개와텔라 드네 당보테 가스는 그서 맹직 답이 거래다 맹 키친보래 가서 찍과리 한다 배나 차샤위나 가서 포지 칸바지 잡거나 칸바이나 틀라 맹직 답이라고 드네 지 되게 나이다 그거 야천보지 소고기나 컴퍼니라고 좀 고속은 컴퍼니 맹탕 고그러와 어다 대나기 게트네 당보 맹직 답이 거래스 다 맹게 단기 휴가 나게 되는 야세 라라 수두마 세야 들어와 맹들이 되게 기타 맹세야 돼 고바 좀 빼망보 요래 기타 근데 송도와 그래서 가히 맹들 때는 되네 에지 엄보 랍도 속에 되네 에지 뭐네 흉티 그 통다로지 하드코어 토그레스 베나차샤위나 야세 라라 지리 다 단기 공식과 야세 라라 지리 지금에 상계 개톡 세대 야세 창조스 말와 스테디 어다 비키 나라고 야세 라렌지 창조 심베기다 라렌 어 랍자 디노 차상 요사리 선비 고동지 용그레스
So then when we say it is virtuous in the beginning, then this begins even with the name. So first there is the name that is given to the text or the written work. And so this is also the case in the example of sort of worldly projects. First, we have to give the project a name. And then, that, like for instance, the company that is, creating the project will put, the company name with some, particular title for the project. And then with this, for instance, the Dharma scriptures, then you have the name, and in this case, the name is the 37 Bodhisattva practices, and it is said that there, according to the capacity of the reader, there are some who have the ability to simply read the title, read the name, and understand the entirety of the contents of the text. So this is like the sort of superior capacity individual. But even if that is not the case, there is a certain amount that we understand merely from the title alone. So in this case, it's the Bodhisattva practices. So yeah, again, the word for Bodhisattva here is the term gyaltse, which literally means the children of the victorious ones. And so it is the practices or activities of the children of the victorious ones, or bodhisattvas. And so as was explained before, the bodhisattvas are referred to as gyaltse because they are like the heart children, or the heart disciples of the Buddhas. And so one can know, so what is contained within this text are the practices or the activities, the trainings that are practiced by those on the Bodhisattva path.
어다 테네 다티 슈글라 가스는 가서 초벌주 봐 송고래 단 초벌주도 가서지 레 칸디지 잠베이나 근데 지금 뭐니 지금 권초송나 로기 권초송 소르왔다 뭐 텐디지의 지미나 그냥 가서 다 레드 드롭도 그래 권초송 지남주 그러와 어 테네드니 텐디지라 당보지 권초송 같더니 지금 가서 다 빼네 영업 등본도 요와 차세와 초반부와 리바야와 라소베케트네 이나도 기트네 초바프와 다 텐디 통보 대송 그래 계시 가르메고 가리지 케바임이나 난키고 사는 예 TV나 당지지 차로 텐디지 난 케안데 권초송 가리리 텐디가 녀게 단다디 권초송 진질라면 이 기초들 생겨나 그냥 또 무슨 먼저 좀 세나리 간다다 초벌주 마세야 되다 yes
So then following the title, then there is the homage, the traditional kind of homage of the author. And so here, then the one who is composing the text sort of pays homage, from the depth of his heart, pays homage to the three jewels, and supplicate. So there's often like a supplication or a prostration or homage to the three jewels or some object of refuge, and through this, then it is through this that then the blessings enter in order for the activity at hand to be accomplished, like in order to be able to compose the text and bring it through to fruition. So for instance, we have the 7 branches, and within the first 3 of the 7 branches is prostration, offering, and confessing. And so first then there is within the homage there is usually contained this prostration and sometimes offering. So if it were the case that the author were sort of approaching the composition of their work with a kind of attitude of arrogance, thinking, oh, I'm really knowledgeable, I'm really skilled, then it would be sort of written, it would start off being written from a place of self-grasping. And so instead, while there may be acknowledgement or inner acknowledgement of their sort of knowledge or learning, that is attributed to the blessings of the 3 jewels. So it is through the blessings of the 3 jewels that they have whatever wisdom and understanding that they are able to share. And so then from the very beginning of the text, there's this recognition of the blessing and kindness of the 3 jewels. There's the establishing an attitude of humility, and making the sure that the aspiration is one that is based on this humble reverence and the aspiration that whatever is created will end up being of benefit to others, that it will benefit sentient beings.
진다단다 디나도와 간 초버주와들 나몰로기 효라야 순도와 간 나몰로기 효라야 제도다 제상 나모세야데 창세워와 데 로기 효라 세야다 제상가서 제렌세그리 네 삼상가서 제렌세키메라 근데 그것도 높이지 주어면은 이렇게 원초 슬라부여서 레상도 아니면서 이렇게 강다양 제세의 계획다 방법가서 카톡으로 올라오면 창세로 제세라로 지라버리 이나야다 통당문 그래서 다 법에라 강로 기비나 제세로 창세로 yes.
So the first line then is actually in Sanskrit. So it says Namo Lokeshvaraya. So Namo means, in Sanskrit means homage, or I prostrate to. And then Lokeshvaraya is referring to Chenrezig, but of the different epithets for Chenrezig, there is also, for instance, the name in Tibetan Jigten Wangchu, which is probably what is actually the Tibetan translation of Lokeshvaraya. So sort of the all-powerful one of the world. I think sometimes it's also Lokeshvaraya might, well, anyway. So it is saying essentially I prostrate to Chenrezig. I pay homage to, or I practice, or I prostrate to Chenrezig. So that is what is meant here by Namo Lokeshvaraya.
아니나다 다타블라 이바 베네다 카톡 조샤나 창세로 제렌세 도리 이나야도 통나라
So if we were to directly translate exactly what it says, it would say, Yeah, I mean, and that's the same structure as English. It turns the structure around in Tibetan, so it would be chakselo chinrazik. But in English, we'd say I prostrate to chenrazik, which is what that also means in Tibetan.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Tini ta chitang nga tsuti kadui na chi tini benatan di ko tsombat go jerse Tommy Sambo Korang Pobari Ting Tambola Yang Jigdang of Sanskrit Ligjaki Tikoya de Ku Chut Kung Zumba. Pegana Yang just Tommy Sambo Korang Yamlen Chine, Roa Tambik Chu, Sesam Gumsom Chine, Tigana Tani, Tambik Chu, Tsunshin to Manoroa, Konrektaji, Le Tamboba Nyam, Le did from Zamba. 인바지가 땡기고리 마토병아 코코랑 기지 다든가 가서 진지캔디나 라나서 서버서 같이 서버 업데이트 치는 서버 근데 소셜 조지 매스야 좀 땡기고리스 코랑 서서 많이 봐 근데 저비 가다 튠데와 어다 테니지 이 좀 센터 때문에 상스키 자고야 좀 센터리스
So we might wonder, that's interesting that we have Namo Lokeshvaraya here in Sanskrit because Ngochu Tome Zangpo is actually Tibetan. So why does he do the homage in Sanskrit? And the reason for this is because actually this is quite common because it is like, it is a sort of invoking the ancient lineage or the blessings that come, through the tradition that began in Sanskrit. So it is a sort of establishing an auspicious connection with that language, sort of that asserting that through a practice and blessing, these instructions are composed in such a way that it is in accord with the sort of traditional teachings of the Buddha without any mistake, without there having been any mistake that was made, so that there isn't any kind of it isn't as though he sort of came up with something new or he's putting his own spin on it, but that actually so rather than something new actually being valued, it's the opposite. It's that there isn't anything new here. This is really the authentic, traditional, true words of the Buddha. It's not something that is, newly created or that the author sort of came up with, newly as something that is newly created. And it is, in fact, in accord with the words or the teachings of the victorious ones or the Buddha.
我的爹你看我就恰切咯，是的嘛一般的我就学为那的呢，康的就跟中没谁讲，作为同的这个种子吧，那么教堂既然成功了，大的过程可别恰切咯是。
So it starts out then, the first verse, at all times I prostrate with respectful three doors of body, speech, and mind to the Supreme Guru and the Protector Chenrezig, who though realizing that all phenomena neither come nor go, makes single-minded effort for the sake of all sentient beings.
他提了康的就跟中没谁讲这个的。 다 강하게 죽은 놈 미세장지도 이제 통 담배 킨 거라 근데 좋담지 근데 이제 좋아던 공화 근데 이제 텐디제 기고 요 말에 쓰면서 근데 이제 요바당 미바당 아지 조비 타탐지당 제대와 근데 이제 상보당 년바당 강다 간리나 근데 이제 텐디게 그 조바 제대와 시리스 통담배 뭐라 이내요 工作可能我啦，今年我做就跟中要买的题那样，他工作其实我做起，他没出招班去吧啦，他呢，长年节长交三拉不过要的啦，特能也去，他呢，他呢就拉不了去吧啦，他呢，他拉嘛就这样过不啊，这趟他送的，他呢， lama maybe corona sanje chebi menyamis tejer sanje tamji me lama thala tene chung musung de tini ji tengu yorda te tembar chiwa da tini ji lama chenyi dang memba tega nangji ke ji lama tenya tini juba dang den memba oda tini ji gogu yores
Kumtati lungten di yang charlokta. Lungten yang charlokta.
Okay, so
Lama hako songje du tingma che yang char ti lako sare ma to fiskale. Lama mebe.
corona
Yeah.
tini sanje chebi menyamis sanje seya lama mena sanje seya yung maris
Hako song. Di junta hako song. It's it relation do.
lama maybe corona sanje chebi menyami tejer sanje tamji ne te sanje mo yorwa lama ten chumbaris lama mena te sanje
Junta hako.
okay
So then first, as it says, who the realizing that all phenomena neither come nor go, or through seeing Avalokiteshvara, who though seeing that all phenomena neither come nor go, strives solely for the purpose of sentient beings. And so from the ultimate perspective, or from the perspective of the ultimate truth or Dharmakaya, there is no coming or going. There is neither the extreme of existence or things. There cannot be said to be existence nor non-existence. From the perspective of the ultimate truth, everything or all phenomena is completely free of elaboration. But from the relative truth, from the perspective of the relative truth, then there is the path of the path of progress, as through the stages of development as a bodhisattva, and one must develop the qualities of love and compassion. One must train in these practices, and in order to train in these practices, one has to rely on a qualified spiritual teacher. So as is said, if there were no spiritual teachers, then we wouldn't even hear the name Buddha or the term Buddha. There wouldn't even be the label Buddha, because all Buddhas become such or arise through or in dependence upon their reliance on spiritual teachers. And so for this reason, then, it is necessary to rely upon qualified spiritual teachers who are endowed with authentic lineage and the necessary characteristics.
tene tega na yere ta nga so ji tambe ki chudi tene ji mu ka phala tene ji tundu ki so ma yin ba so le ta ji mu ne mu ju ji he ne he ju ji chen me ji ko sang ji jum den de ne ko ta pa de tene me mu ju go es tene ji ki ju de wa tele tene nga so cha yang ju to gre tene ha ku chudi ki tong to to gre es 대인들끼리 다 녀만으로 인하다 배 다티 해니시 단 유승이다 녀마 상제 코로나 가오라다 근데 상제 기송 송샤와들 녀 근데 녀네 근데 고 자기의 강다 상제 송샤와데 강사 녀녀 되게 콩으로 추기 셈냐 내가 요사로와 다티도 가스나 그 대치되네 거기 통닭을 곰 통닭도 근데 손에 되네 거기 녀마다 녀도 tene ko tene ji gombala de da jomba to tudu tene ko jeya yo mar la budwa tene me ji wi song to tene tene yongu yo ta tene ma doru jetan ga to terwa da ga to long se ya nang yo wa long se ya tene sanji jumde ne he ne he ju ne yongu yo yongo res la gwa jumchen ka res la bina tene ma sanje ka no ina 되네 다 상직 조송 그러와 되니다 가서 나기 탄다 이게 대 되는다고 여사 말와 상직 송 샤와티 되네 바위라 되네 상직 강송 샤와티 되네 마지원예 얘는 냠내치 냠내치 비까라 되네 보다 다좀 봐서야지 톱로 그러와 대 다좀 봐 톱서리 그러와 되네 상직 송 샤와 제야요 말와 되네 마지네 그 대기어리 다 되네 마 거지 냠내한테 도르 되네 지가 산 되네 마 송샤죠 참마야 되네 지 세면가 마토야 세면 냠내치 마토야 되네 진리치비 보다 제양 오조 빌까라 다나서 직배제로 특이어와 아 이해가 특이어와 되게 좋은 거다 맞아 내가 선거 맞아 롱나 세기도 다 단다로지 롱나라도 맞아 와지 얘기한테 기지 로 아주 들라 샤고 들라 통보 아주 막 샤샤로 되는 저요 저
So the Dharma, the continuum of teachings, instructions, and sort of the stream of blessings carried through the Buddha Dharma is something that is passed from like individual to individual. This is why we refer to it as the lineage. And actually, this is how it was established during the time of the Buddha. So the Buddha would teach, he would spontaneously give instructions, and then the practitioners would really take his instructions to heart, and they would hold them in mind, and then they would practice accordingly. And it was in this way that many of his followers, for instance, at that time reached the state of arhatship. And then having reached the state of arhatship, they had the ability of retention, their miraculous ability of intellectual retention, where they would not forget any of it. They wouldn't forget even a single word. And so it is, it wasn't during that time, it wasn't like, present times, it wasn't as though, the Buddha composed all of his teachings, he didn't write them down, but for many, for quite some time, they were passed on person to person exclusively in this way. And of course, since that time, as we have entered into periods of greater and greater sort of deterioration or degeneration, then the same sort of ability for retention and not the ability to not forget is less common. And it is not so often that there are really, greatly accomplished practitioners who are appearing. And so it is more the tradition kind of throughout this more sort of modern era that everything has mostly been passed on through the written word. So it is now there's a greater reliance on the written word. But during the time of the Buddha, this was not the case. Everything, it was entirely maintained as an oral tradition. And the practitioners or the assembly was reaching levels of awakening, attaining arhatship through their reflection on what they had heard, or through their practice based on what they had heard or received orally from the Buddha.
어떻게 어다 든리 인도 계탕가서 등산으로 있나더니 아주 롱동세야 그 중센테리다 단다당 가서지 라마지 코라야 라마 코라야 되네 차상로 셈이요 말에 대가 나기 콜로멜라 카톨로 셈투고 말이 이나야 거지 년주 정도 상지 주민들이 송샤죠 기타 다 아데 고타나 주마치 어떻게지 용되고요래 소다디
and so now, so when we For instance, when we receive transmission or we request the transmission of a particular set of teachings or a text, this is kind of maintaining some connection with that initial practice of the transmission occurring orally, from a person to person. And so even though the Lama who is giving the transmission doesn't necessarily have the entire content of what he is giving the transmission for memorized, still he has received the transmission from his teachers. And so therefore there is sort of this continuum of a hearing lineage that is being passed, from a teacher to disciple throughout the generations. And so this is, and it goes all the way back to the speech of the Buddha through hearing the words and the speech of the Buddha and passing it on throughout the generations in this way.
어다 티니티네 나 대송에 라마 송에 티네 파파 제렌세 다 제렌세 있다는 것을 자세 창조 선바티니 장와치와다 뭐니 참닝기 항소 참닝기 당니데 수레 슬라비나 티네 파파 제렌세 이 말이고 티다 라마 당데 파파 제렌세 예메와와 티니 기흥고 되는 거다 차체로 워송에 다 차체로 송규 지금 가서 된 공통가 나이네 Lama telaya kuyap sang telajikne bosom kuwi chance yore bosom kuwi ki chance lo sung kari yung gore sena tonda kala gore sena ta ji nie ketini ji changjob sembe labja sanje kompo tober jibi ki jote chamba dan ni changjob sembe oda tindi ji jule kerona 진짜 labrona senen ga ta rewa sedari chance yore wa de yang ga ji 차체나 두다데 카리나 아직 사제 그 월을 제가 야면은 지 본보지 그 월을 돼야 라고 쳐야 기토가 가야 말이 맞아 지금 제위직 톱고 그래 제위 톱을 지어라 맞아 시간으로 있다고나 신기해 근데도 미용 거와 뭐 배트나 이게 맞아 그 랑이 줄라더니 참바가 이제 창조선 제발 지발라 근데 그바 첨부 로와 대바 첨부권에 차제 쏘봤다위는 그냥 가서 줄을 맞는 지나더니 잠깐인 게 되더니 창조선 되더니 로 줄을 제야라 행위가 되니 답제가더니 어찌해서 세야니까 라고야지 라마가 양도 용고야게 센트리지 인사레스
So then, as it says, to the guru and the protector, guardian, Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara. So what the actually here the Lama and Chenrezig are indivisible, and what they are or what they represent is the embodiment. They are the self representation or embodiment of great love and compassion, or bodhicitta. And so this essence of the deity Chenrezig and the essence of the Lama and the true essence of our own mind, in fact, are in indivisibility. And so it is to this essence actually that we are that homage is being paid to. So it is to this essence that prostration is being made. So as it says, I prostrate respectfully with my three doors. And so the reason for this is because as one trains in the practices of a Bodhisattva, or in order to reach the state of Buddhahood or awakening, then one has to develop through stages and engaging in the training or practices of bodhicitta, or the bodhisattva practices, which require generating the qualities of love, compassion, and bodhicitta. And so in order to be able to do so, one has to sort of humbly pay reverence. There has to be an attitude or regard of love and respect or faith. So that is what the homage is really about. The homage is really in this sort of reverence to these beautiful qualities of love and compassion. It isn't prostration, and homage is not about sort of putting yourself underneath someone or something that that is more powerful or superior. It's not about something being superior and oneself becoming inferior. It's not like becoming inferior to like some big boss or some king, but it's actually a process that is necessary in order to gain the fruition, in order to receive the fruition, in order to generate the qualities of love, compassion, and bodhicitta. It's necessary to have this inward or this inner veneration, this deep respect and adoration or love and great faith to the embodiment, the representational embodiments of those qualities of love, compassion, and bodhicitta. And so when we're supplicating, that is really where the supplication is. It is in sort of this honoring of all the representations of those, or all the embodiments of those supreme qualities which we ourselves also hope to embody. And it is through that process of paying homage that it becomes possible for those qualities to also be born in our own mind stream. And so in this way, we are paying homage to both the Lama and Chenrezig, who are actually in essence one and the same.
Oda chongla na yiri essence semiori ina oda di lame kenga ta solwande sia tabaje ya yichije ya lamo solwande ya ti ngaso togi inimi zu dong ngaso chita ngaso ku ju la ko chi rang ke sem dang lame ke sem dang keren se sem yeme wa ji yori ti ina ya ngaso de chi ngut yor ma to wa nyima do ji yu nyima timbe tep de wa do Oretne. So yeme wa ji yori eswa. Yinaya karsina ngaso te ngut yori yo marwa. Ngut manjor se ngaso ti chi quality te dubu yo mari. Bena nyima do ji ti dem na da nyima ti ma dem na nyima kwa na cheba kan yo ma ti yinaya ngaso temporary obscuration tang go wa. Bena temporary obscuration bena timaro tang go wa ta tindiji ngaso la make to tanya te wa. Keren se ke to ta nyam te no ta tindiji chorana yi ngaso pa te chine de ne ji nipaji te비는 nipañam 통으로 다 드니지를 때니 이공화쇼 스테니지 진질라브로 나와서 딱 알아라 nipaji 쇼치 뭐 통으로 나와서 드니라브로다 딱 가르에서 나가서 돼 그냥 되게 공슈이 막 차세야 대바치야 가르에서나 지 그 월은 준도야 말이 또 첨부제 그 월은 준도야 말이 그 가르에 맞아 서포트로 차고다 나도 니파 싫다 메이미나 근데 서포트로 지는 저기 거래 그봐 그러나 가서 뺀도 차샤이나 나도 강바 요리 이나 강바 때 근데 템보로 지 메이미나 되네 그 캔도 지 요기나 강바 때 티스 니파 요러와 뭐다 텐덴도 지 그거 대바다 미바 나도 대다디 그 나도 유 템보지 요 템보 차요 말와 템보 맞아야 돼 그것도 먼저 와더라 팽겨 뭐다 티인도 이제 베나도 차샤비나 나도 seat와 seat 베네 플랜도 지유비나 seat 베 야보지 유 seat도 다 seat 하고 지금도 뭐 행동 답이야 무치 답이야 여러와 seat 야보지 유비나 근데 그지한테 잔이 파차상지 유비나 되네 나도 주말로 근데 녀마메 고소한테 야보메 마샤샤나 그 시트 가서 야보 요나 쟁 말와 뭐 뒤에도 가서 지 되네 지 시트 야보 요 같을라 시트 야보 요나 다 뒤고라 되네 소요 야보치 되네 줄로 야보지 답샤 쟁으로 와 뒤에도 가서 지 뭐니 대바 이치 소반데비아 그래서 간리 차도 요스는 다다 공티가 나이 뭐니 그래서 라리 쟁으로 쟁 컨디션 어 들리지를 때네 맞을 팽기요래서 야당가서 차세야 초반부야 로 대바제야들 리즌 들리지 기토네 제리오 삼고래서
So yes, when we supplicate the Lama or the Guru, really there is the understanding that ultimately the essence of the Lama's mind and the essence of our own mind and the essence of the deity are one and the same, that really actually we are indivisible in our true nature or essence. However, as long as we have not really actualized our true essence, then reliance is necessary. But it isn't that while we are temporarily obscured by the adventitious defilements, it isn't that we have become any worse. It is simply like the sun temporarily becoming less brilliant because there is the presence of cloud cover, because it is temporarily the sun's rays are muted or obscured because of the clouds, the presence of clouds. But then, of course, once the clouds are cleared away, then it is realized that the radiance of the sun has always been there. And so in the same way, the enlightened essence or the qualities of the intrinsic essence, which is represented by Chenrezig, which is represented by the Lama, we have to sort of merge or connect with that essence through the mind of reverence or reliance and devotion. Because, and so that's why with sort of a humble mind of appreciation and reverence or respect, then we say, please, may I be able to realize or actualize these qualities or realize these qualities in my own mind stream, and then through that connection, then there is the ability to also access that essence within our own mind. And so again, that is, prostration or paying homage is really not about putting yourself beneath someone or something that is very powerful. It's not about something being superior and someone being inferior. It's actually about support. And so if we actually had the ability of all of our, if our power and qualities, like our ability and our qualities, the qualities present within our own mind stream were fully realized or actualized, then we wouldn't need any support. But as long as that is not the case, then we have to rely on some form of support. So just like, somebody who has an injured leg, if the leg is injured, then someone can't walk without the support of a cane. So as long as the leg is injured, then that person, it has been of benefit to that person to rely on or to use the support of their cane until they become stable and are able to walk on their own. And so in the same way, by relying on the objects of refuge with a mind of sincere devotion or faith and veneration, then it provides tremendous support in helping one to actualize, to one is benefited in such a way that this becomes a support for actualizing or manifesting the beautiful qualities inherent within one's own mind. And so it's actually condition, it's in relation to conditions. So we have the seed, we have a very pure, a very good seed. But in order for that seed to fully blossom, then we also need all of the necessary characteristic or conditions. So for instance, you might have a really, really good seed, a really good quality seed, but if your soil is not so great, and if you don't plant that seed where there's sufficient sunlight, and if you don't give that seed enough
diligent soil,
if you don't give that seed enough water, then even it doesn't matter how good the seed is, without the necessary conditions, then it won't ripen into a fully developed plant. It won't be able to blossom. And so this is like the conditions of faith, trust, and supplication. And so, and diligence, we can add diligence to that. So independence upon these conditions, and then, when with those mind states present, we in a heartfelt way engage in prostration, supplication, offering. This is really the reason for those activities.
어다 대가 서발한테 열세 무치 통미 코라게티네 다 열세 라래 어딘지 잠바 담야의 생전 탐지기 해 토소 어다니한테 저 드니제 기치들 잠고요 되는데 드니제기다 그냥 고성 그바치 뭐 차세네 라마다 하베라더니 제렌세기는 드니제기다 예전번에 도쇼고 소다 드니제기는 차세요. Yes.
So in any case here, Gyaltse Ngulchutome is sort of supplicating, respectfully with his three doors to the Lama and the Supreme Protector Chenrezig, with the objective, may all sentient beings be benefited. May through your blessings, may this work of mine bring about the benefit and happiness of all sentient beings.
다 테리네 다 텔레카스는 아주 초벌지고 같아. 당어서 짬바 탐자와 손에 다 내가 갈리는 거네 짬바 탐자와 개침고 쉬우래. 다 레드 송으로 와. 되네 지 가서 참내 레 몸보지 짬 탈마지나 지겐비게 자야야 드롭투고 말와. 제니 다 담보 지 베네 레카로 지겐비 레카로 있는 그 손에 빼지 요랬다. 법에 빼지. 되네 진리배 레카 뭐 고좀이야 요 말에 손을 다 빼라 와 빼래. 이나 레카 좀 고좀 차나? 되네 다 내가 놓아요 말에 손. 빼나? dollar 모티 바나기 손에. 베는 가서 dollar 모티나 뭐로 말와. 되네 사강을 모티나. 노노로 와. 된되네. 지 방법 가서 레카 카드 좀 고고다. 베는 지 템비 레카나 양보서 뭐 땅 테니치 편도 내가 타토게 편도 간리용서 yap어서 뭐땅 다데 고도 나데 지고도 삼이나 다 레카디 국가에 가서 팅나되네 고 노야요 말에 좀비 편다 돌을 모티바나 이제 거래서 뭐다 되나 얘기 되네 제가 담자데 개침보를 예스 다든지 템바라와.
So then that then covers the homage And then there is the commitment. So also traditionally, then the author first has the section of paying homage, and then there's the section of stating the commitment. So the commitment is the commitment to produce the work, to complete the activity at hand. And actually, this is also... Okay. So he says, the perfect Buddha's source of benefit and happiness arise from accomplishing the sublime Dharma. Is that accomplishment depends on knowing the Dharma practices. I shall explain the Bodhisattva practices. And so that then covers the commitment. And as you know, with any activity, for instance, even in a worldly sense, it is important that we first, have a kind of definitive mindset, or sort of we establish a really clear objective, a really clear commitment to engage in whatever activity or project is at hand, and to complete that activity. So first, in order to begin, then there has to be this attitude of commitment. And then if the commitment is really firm, then there's really nothing that can divert one, or there is no way that then that objective can be reversed or interrupted. They say it's like writing something in stone. It becomes like something that is written in stone. So first, whatever the activity or the project, the objective or agenda, first it is planned out. It is thought of, one thinks well upon it. One establishes a clear plan or agenda. And then one has a firm commitment to complete that agenda, to bring it through to fruition. And then again, once this sort of this initial phase of planning is complete, and there's a really firm mind of commitment, then there's no kind of turning back, and the objective or the activity is carried through to fruition, and it is and the commitment becomes something which is like writing in a stone, like it becomes written in stone, so it is completely brought through to fruition.
Carving the stone.
Yeah, like carving in stone.
So that means, so we, there is maybe the obstacles, whatever we are project, not easy, but we, no one's, cannot destroy that if you already carve in the rock. So that means, whatever is planned is not changed. So that energy can be raw. In that true Tambechu Tagana, that Tambechu Robert Chival, two Robert Kala Yama, ko that's Hamahakurwa. They love your money, Tambechu Robert Chival. Somebody be or I'm not sure what Chico, somebody be, somebody Chico, successful young Viore. Yan sounds up there. No more huge chimbo in the large better for a new more huge chimbo. Ah, Koji. Chuchin and Ping, you're somebody carting Chigi or somebody. Not so younger one. Or Tindu. Ah, Casanum was confident. Or Tambo Samshawate, or Zambatilla, Jovamaji, go yours, Tandam Yam Yotopa generally, Yam Yotopa machinery, or Tindu, Tinji, Jovamaji, wrong on the same one, Jovatamatovia, confident. I hang a paromando which is what are you choosing in Pentoshita, you are married to Sutular in the Lavina, Tiago, Yormano. But the DJ go confident go. Yes.
So then, that explanation is really kind of from the perspective of even worldly activities. But then when it comes to practicing Dharma, this commitment is even more important. We all know, that actually being consistent in our Dharma practice is not necessarily easy. We may sometimes have a really clear mind, a pure motivation, and we're really inspired to practice the Dharma. And we we feel like we're having some success in our practice, but then sometimes we have really strong afflictions that arise. We have the presence of the defilements become very visible, and we may sort of decline in our resolution to continue with Dharma. We might even become doubtful and think that our practice, that the Dharma isn't benefiting all that much. And so really, there are our states of mind and being are so diverse. There's so many different mind states and thoughts and conditions that arise. But it is really important to have this attitude of resolve, of complete commitment, so that nothing can interrupt the continuity of our efforts, the continuity of our practice, in such a way that we are committed to the practice, whether we give rise to experience and realization as a result or not. Even if we don't give rise to experience and realization as a result. But the commitment is one that there's nothing that is going to sort of change our level of commitment to the practice, no matter what happens in our own life and experience, or with respect to the opinions and words of others. So if somebody else tells us, oh, whatever you're doing, it's not really working, or it's not really of any real benefit, so, maybe you ought to try something else, then even with the influence of others, or, whatever the conditions, our commitment should be so strong that nothing really can deter us.
Oda ten cups habatilla karsena, tati jetang general of you, in a data and the cups habala, karsena penning junior zope sangenam, lado, pending junior zope sangenams. Oh, that pending junior zope sanges in the Jaco neck up Latin, not a penguin, two drop the neck up, money, not to get Dumia Kenya, no robot, not to Dumia Jatam never much out in that. Labgudo, home this job, Yamlatis Chivina, Kanya Kandiji Chivina, you Nata in a lake, Jixem Kanya Yuna, Yakalatin, so digging Joguri. Man, Yari Hagio, the walk, Tiniji, Nekabian, English. Then Tato Karsana, Junior Machina, they of course, Tato, Sanjay. Yes, the Tati. Nekap on Tato Ninja ke Tine Ta Telekarsana Ta Tato Sanji Komparawa or Sanji Kompa de la Tine Kandiji Lavina the Lado Kamchu Doblejo. Tati Kasaonga Nekala Pento Gudu Tatola Sanji Komato Gudu Samba Yongumane Estini a cargo Nekala Pemba Jona Tambechu do. Sanjay Komato Chivala, Tambi Chudo. Yes, in a tati.
So then we as it says in this verse, the source of benefit and happiness, the perfect Buddha's source of benefit and happiness. Arise from accomplishing the sublime Dharma, So it is the Dharma then that is also, since the Buddhas arise from accomplishing the sublime Dharma, and they are the source of benefit and happiness, it is the Dharma itself which is a source of all benefit and happiness. It is that which leads to the ultimate benefit and happiness of fully perfected awakening or Buddhahood. And then also temporarily, it is a source of tremendous benefit and ease. So for instance, during a time in which we have some sort of suffering that is present, some pain or suffering, just a little bit of practice can transform our experience altogether. For instance, if our body is suffering from illness, then in the midst of that pain or that physical discomfort or illness, if we relax and turn the mind inward, if we engage just for a few moments in a state of meditation, then there's really tremendous benefit that can occur from that. Sometimes it's even much better than taking medicine. So if there are such strong temporary benefits, then of course the ultimate benefit is unsurpassed. The ultimate benefit is attaining the state of Buddhahood or complete awakening. And so
다 이 order to 디 드니게 다 내가 방타토 니 김종야들라 가리용요레스 라비나트네 담주 드롭렌 종게 태양네 그러니까 내가 대신 중요한데 담배 주 드롭네 종구요레 다토 양한테 상제 고모토리아데 담배 주 드롭네 종구요레스 다 디디 담배 주 드롭을 치발라 칸에서 뭔가 주 드롭이라나 나서 드롭시 말아와 디니 다 가르고 그래 담배 주 드롭을 치발라 담배 주 라레 지고고다 티 라렌디 다 라레 버리스 라레 야보지 담배 주 드롭이야겠다 라레 야보지는 드롭투 그래 담배 주겠다 라레 야보 메이비는 가서 드롭투 다 라레 디오레스
So in order to achieve this both temporary and ultimate happiness, then we need to practice the sublime Dharma. It is through practicing Dharma that these two levels of happiness and benefit are achieved. And so but if we think, oh, okay, then I'm going to practice Dharma, and we have no idea really what that means or how to do that, then of course, then we won't be successful. So we have to understand the methods. We have to know how to engage in the practice. We have to know what the training or the proper like activities or practice is. It's in dependence upon the practices or the training. And so if we know the training or the practices well, then we will be able to, and we engage in those trainings or practices accordingly, then we will be able to accomplish the two levels of benefit and happiness, the both temporary and ultimate or supreme.
죄송합니다. 나서 토바세야 당복고 요리 토바이나 토베 데글랜도 오퍼치 소는 되는 가서지 토바 게담메게 하코비나 근데 가서 닉바 싸고 말이스 근데 지 토바자 전부 요비나 근데 디 토바 디길 때네 가서 게레 뭐야고 지금도 되네 지 토바 디기 근데 다마데 양양데 바 토브레 소노와 어때 나기게 다 다나 가서디 라레 토바지 고고요레 토바 고야틀라 다탄데 제세 라레 티니지니다 토바 치야키 잘라나 마손 티니지 제기 세타고 담자치로 당연히 가르치와 솔로 토비나다 간디치나니다디 곧 텔레 도그메스 이 테기 송보다 관 담자와 제기하고
So Tuba, you mean like two samgompa.
토바 제당 같은 또 디스카로 왔는데 제당 토바 요나 펜도요레스 스페나 토베 델도 파티라 임바트데 왜 이걸 너무 좋아 토바 가서 게데 하고나 되네 같이 말와 잠깐 가서 하고 말와 되네 텔레테네 토베 냥엔데 버터스 되네 집 가서 게데 미게와 빠 게와 송디나 되네 냥엔데 버터보다 태코나 서플레데와 인다 제스모 토미데 아까서 토바 치야 get네다 야셀랑은 점기 있어야지 와 아다 담자리 고다 도야면 다기 도를 못 집어 넣기데 막 모토 말와 어떤 넣기데 점기 있어야고 담자들이 있어.
So the first with respect to these activities or trainings, first there is the activity of hearing or listening or sometimes as it is translated study. And so as is said, listening or hearing or study is that which completely reverses negativity, or it's like the complete antithesis, or it's the repellent of negativity. And so that is because it is in dependence upon the activities of hearing that one really develops clarity with regard to virtue and non-virtue. And so once virtue and non-virtue is really understood well, then one is able to avoid accumulating negativity. Sometimes it's not so clear. Sometimes we do not really see so clearly, what are the causes of what are wholesome or positive virtuous causes and what are the negative causes. And so it's said to be through the activity of hearing that one develops this discriminating faculty. And then therefore, ultimately, it is really through hearing that then eventually one is led to the state, or one reaches this state of enlightenment or awakening, ultimately through hearing. And so because one becomes clear about what is to be avoided as negativity or non-virtue, and what is to be protected or taken up as a practice of virtue or wholesome activity, and then through that clarity, then one practices in that way or in accord with that, and that eventually leads to Buddhahood. So that is why it is said that it is hearing that leads to Buddhahood or enlightenment. And so in the case here with the commitment to complete the composition, Gyaltse Ngulchu Togme is making this commitment to compose these words that describe the 37 Bodhisattva practices as an aspect of hearing, this practice of hearing or study. And once this commitment is established, there is no reversing it. It becomes like written in stone, like carving in stone.
어다 뒤에 당어서 된다. 아다 도머르게와 리기 통세야디 지들이 저버주와 통 담버 탐제와디 다 컴플레인도 같이 차버리 뒤에 다 사니마 예마라 안가서다 와르게와 효과 통제다 효과마 되는 거 고주야 있어.
So today we have then covered this sort of first section, which is virtue in the beginning with the introduction being comprised of the title, stating the title, and then also the verses of homage, or the words of homage, and the words of commitment, establishing commitment, which make up, the sort of this designation of, the composition being virtuous in the beginning with the introduction. And then the next week, we'll get into the the second section, which is the main body of the text in the middle.
Okay. 좀 빨리 가르치지 지금.
Glasses. I don't have my glasses. 가래 파길라? 직진한 게 요말에 돈다 싫어 요말에 지금
Okay, so we very
Mendo.
Okay, so we thank you. So we're going to dedication. So here's dedication.
Okay, so we'll do the short dedication on page 24. The bottom of the page. By the virtues collected in the 3 times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Drikungpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We see.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. See you on Tuesday.